finding the Canadian shows?
I think they've been wonderful so far. It was
Yeah,
a really
what was
psychedelic play. What was the place with the funny shapes?
In Edmonton.
Edmonton. There was a venue that had like several tiers of.
A lot of different
Areas.
levels. It was like in a mall, in a big mall.
Yeah.
Oh, West Edmonton Mall.
That one, yeah, but it wasn't in the mall, but it was like incorporated with the mall. So that was a spectacularly psychedelic, weird place to play. Weird shapes and levels and stuff like that. That was pretty good. There's been a lot of people. I guess that all the gigs being sold out in Canada. So we've been, it's been crazy and cool for us since we haven't been to these places, as a headlining act before. We played Calgary and Edmonton. Indeed, yeah, but it's also, the world is such a big place. It took, it takes ages to tour around. We've been skipping the whole of Scandinavia. We've been skipping the whole of Eastern Europe to be able to come here. So you've got to lose some to gain some. Unfortunately, you just can't do it all.
Yeah. And you're actually touring. I saw you had new dates all the way up to March.
Well, we're doing some European stuff, and then we're supposedly coming over here as well. But I don't know yet. I guess it's also depending on how well the album does.
It's awesome.
Well, it's doing fairly okay, but it's not being played on the radio or anything like that. And it's just, it's a very expensive operation to bring everybody over. Pay all the technicians, all the stage gear, everything like that, fly that stuff over.
Yeah.
And if you're not playing to, packed clubs, there's no reason of doing it. So we're kind of like still checking out, if Now Bleed Well is going to be the second single off of it, if that's will be played on the radio, I guess it makes it more worthwhile to come over.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, we'd be just, let's say, I don't want to pay $500 to be able to play tonight. Zero is fine. I don't have to gain anything. I don't have to, but I don't want to pay for it. Especially when you're doing about like 25 gigs in a month, you end up paying a lot of money. Thousands and thousands of bucks just for me.
In a way, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
It's a crazy business.
It is.
Yeah, well, but it's also, when an album doesn't do so well, that's the time when you should be touring a lot. So it's kind of, it's a double-edged sword. But, this song's been going really well, but it's just, it would be nice if, for example, in North America to do a bit more promo. We haven't done anything. Nobody sorted it out, We have a lot of days off and there's nothing to do. That's kind of weird. I'm not complaining, though.
Yeah, it's nice to have the odd day off, I guess.
Well, but it's also, once we've traveled a zillion miles to come over here, it's nice to do something. If you have a day off, it doesn't kill the day off if you're talking with lovely people, journalists or whatever, for an hour and a half, but it seems that nobody cares for us, so that makes things a bit more complicated.
You're talking to the wrong people.
Well,
we care.
Well, hopefully, that's good to hear.
So let's talk about the album Venus Doom. Because I know you haven't talked about it at all, probably, right?
Well, we talked about it when it came out, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
And we talk to each other.
Do you really?
Yeah.
In general.
Also about the album. We analyze it.
What do you
in the
say?
bus.
How do you analyze it?
It's in Finnish. It's kind of hard. It doesn't really translate too well.
Sure. So say in Finnish, what were you saying?
Yeah.
Oli laiteltu.
Oh, right.
We'll translate it. It's probably cursing.
No,
It's not. It was totally about the album. Yeah, what do you want to know?
What I was going to ask, actually, is about the lyrics and the vocals. There's a real vulnerability there, and I was just wondering, they're his. You don't think so?
Well, I don't know.
I was just wondering, he's laughing at me. I was just wondering if you ever had moments where you felt like you put too much of yourself out there.
No.
And didn't keep enough for yourself.
No, it depends on the songs. Some songs bring more emotion out, and then it's funny at times, I met people who consider one line of a song being such an emotional moment, and at the end of the day I was there in the studio half naked with a bottle of beer in my hand and talking to my mom at the same time, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, that's the cool thing about music, that it does evoke images in people's heads and vibes and emotional states. That's why we do music, but it's not that I would be on the verge of tears when I'm singing. There's many things going on. You got to be in tune. You're gonna try to remember the lyrics or read the lyrics. You got to be a certain distance away from the mic to get the sound as good as possible. So once you're over with that, then you let the emotional work begin, so to speak. But it's always emotional. I guess every instrument, playing an instrument, is always emotional. You know, once you get over the, you know, the technical aspects, so to speak. So I don't guess that the vocals are more vulnerable, or the lyrical aspect of it than before.
I noticed that there's a lot with this album. You seem to have stripped down the sound. So it's more, the sound is more...
it's a bit more straightforward, yeah.
Yeah, it's more straightforward. And the cover is also a little different than what you normally do.
Yeah, that just happened. You know, we have several albums with a Hardware logo of the band on the covers, and you know, I have a couple of ideas to do Hardware in a new way again, but at this time around, I wrote most of the songs back home, and I had the original painting on my wall, and it gave me a lot of inspiration. And in a way, the eyes of that lady on the painting saw me at my most vulnerable. So the creative process and a lot of my meltdowns and shit happened under her watchful eyes. So in that sense, for me personally, it's very important in that sense, you know. And when I look at the cover, it's like looking at my living room. So I feel at home, which is kind of sick. But at the same time, it's very intriguing, isn't it?
It is.
I think it's a really interesting picture.
Well, you know, I like
take
it.
A lot of different things from it.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, that's a good thing about art in general. I don't know shit about art. I don't know much about artists. You know, I just walked through, you know, I was walking through French Quarters in New Orleans and just had a day off and was hungover, and then saw that painting in a gallery and went in there, and I never had, you know, purchased any art, so I was, you know, calling up our manager and, you know, is this and this amount too much, or what should I do? Can you, like, you know, negotiate on the prices in a gallery or whatever? And then I ended up just buying it. You know, I really, you know, fell for it. So it was a great
cool.
painting.
That's the way art should be. So I think it's really cool on the album that you have one song that's 10 minutes long, and you got another one that's a minute long. So it's not necessarily that you did like a commercially, you know, the usual BS, so to speak. And I love that about the album.
Well, it's kind of annoying these days that the length of a song has somehow become an issue. You know that you're supposed to write, you know, you're supposed to write songs that fit the radio, or songs that people don't get bored with, even though they last more than 4 minutes. There's a certain lame aspect to that. So in a sense, it was good. You know, we didn't do it because of that, but it sure was a relief in a way that you can do it still.
You know, popular music's changed a lot. You know, if you think of the Monkees songs or whatever, they never clocked over 3 minutes, probably. So a lot of the old pop stuff, that's like 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Now the latest Amy Winehouse album is pretty close to that as well. So it's just, the song starts, there's a vocal, there's a chorus, there's a vocal, there's a chorus, maybe a tiny little middle section, chorus and an end. And that's beautiful in a short story sort of a way as well, that you really get straight to the point. But, you know, I guess for commercial reasons, radios back in the day, maybe in the 80s or late 70s, started having the 3.5 minute thing. Because, you know, then they can play within an hour, within one program. They can play a certain amount of songs and include a certain amount of commercials in between. So that's the reason for radio edits, for example. And it still happens in some countries like Germany, for example. It's hard to get on mainstream radio stations if you don't have an edit of a song. Well, I don't mind myself, because at the end of the day, you know, if somebody hears a shorter version of, let's say, Sleepwalking Past Home and gets really into it, that means that that particular person maybe goes onto the iTunes or goes into a record store and buys the album. So it's a demonstration, a demo of the entire thing in that sense. And also then the overindulgence, you know, probably Cokefield or whatever, you know, think bands like Yes or King Crimson. They got a bit out of hand in the 70s as well with the prog bands, you know. Some of the stuff is really good, but some of it's like a wankathon. There's too many things, you know, too many things going on. Everybody's trying to prove that they're the fastest or most creative artist when it comes to, you know, it shouldn't matter whether songs are, you know, short or long, you know. If it
Yeah, it's just that, you know, there were so many short songs around that I kind of noticed that I started having like a musical attention span of like a grapefruit, if you know what I mean. It was like just when something was, you know,
Like
longer than what you're used to, then you're sort of started feeling query about it, and I don't think that's very good.
It'll probably happen to me as well if I'm starting with my fruitarian music.
Oh yeah, maybe it will turn it into a grapefruit.
Probably. You are what you eat, man. I'm gonna be a fruit.
You're what? You better not say
And
that.
then when you're
you know
old-
that's gonna end up on the internet, and you're gonna hear weird stories about yourself.
Me saying that I'm fruit.
No,
I mean, there's some
we're not
strange
talking
stuff
about
anyway.
fruit, but being actual fruit.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you are what you eat, man. So I'll
Yeah,
be.
and then when you go old, you will be a raisin.
Could be.
I'm
Or
thinking like
like a
commercial.
sun-dried tomato. So
Could be that,
you never know.
depending
Depends how much
which
sun
time
you
of
get.
I'm
festival
just
you
fucking
indulge
around
in.
with my diet at the moment, so I'm going.
Why are you screwing up your diet?
I've been a vegetarian for ages, but I read
completely.
Yeah, well, no fish, no. I do eat dairy products, so I do cheese on top of bread or whatever, but and eggs occasionally. But I read about fruitarianism. You know, not being a vegetarian, but fruitarian. So you eat just fruit, and it's pretty tough. You you have dietary supplements and stuff like that, but then it's no dairy products. Basically everything that just falls off a tree. So. Not everything that falls off a tree. No, I wasn't meaning that. But you don't kill the plant.
Right.
So let's see. You don't do rice or anything like that. So
Wow.
just go for it. Let's see what happens.
Like, what's the greatest challenge you faced together as a band?
Well, stay one. I guess. Stay a band. You know, everybody, we'd be growing up together and people's lives change and they get wives and kids and things. And, you know, they get frustrated and at times they're happy. And at times, you know, it's very hard to get 5 individuals to be in the same mood for traveling, let's say, 6 months a year and living in the same bus and still being able to cope with each other, because really rarely, even in a marriage, you see
Yeah, you guys have been
the individuals together for such a long time, you know, in one go. We've been together for, we've known each other for you know, but let's say there are more pros than cons. So that's probably the reason, you know. You just learn to appreciate the fact that, you know, that you don't like somebody's, you know, smell of somebody's farts. And you can't do shit about it. You know, you just breathe through your mouth. That's what I do.
Or you can put this autopsy thing under your nose.
Well, I don't know where to get that shit.
I don't know either. That would be actually pretty cool.
Just saying that, you know, not saying that, you know, on an artistic level we would be compromising, but you have to compromise on a day-to-day basis, you know, the way you live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fine. You just, you know, you get used to it, and I'm pretty certain that now after this tour's done, we're going to go over to play a few gigs in the UK, and then we're having nearly 2 months off, excluding the one gig we're playing at New Year's in Finland. So I guess everybody's going to be super hungry after 2 months, you know, just without doing anything. So that's the way it is, you know. You're just bored on tour. Now we're like halfway through, and everybody's been having a bit of, you know, getting the flu and being a bit feverish and stuff, and now it's getting better. Everybody's feeling good now again, but halfway, you know, when you're half done, you start thinking about home. How you want to be there rather than in this, you know, all carpeted, AC'd, shitty,
Monstrosity.
monstrosity called a bus.
Technical monstrosity.